rare condition this day and age to read any good news on the newspaper page. And love and tradition of the grand design, some people say, is even harder to find. Well, then there must be some magic clue inside these gentle walls. 'Cause all I see is a tower of dreams, real love bursting out of every scene. Days go by. It's the bigger love of the family.
Welcome back to the Hot Mic Podcast. I'm Nathan Ivey, your humble host. And here we go. Yeah, here we are. Look. And matter of fact, we've got someone else. Yeah, there it is. There's the whole crew. There it is. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate you. Happy Friday to you. Hope this video is finding you in a good place. Again, I'm your moderator and host, Nathan Ivey. Got Michelle Dunn with us. How you doing, Michelle?
Hey, great. Happy New Year, everybody.
Brother Dre, how you doing, Brother Dre?
Hey, what's happening, Brother Ivy? Good to see you. Good to see everyone.
With Curse Breakers, I love the way you say that, man. Curse Breakers. Got Mac Mariani. We weren't expecting Mac, but he is a crew member. He can always jump in. Good to see you, Mac. How you doing,
Great
sir?
to be here. Thanks for having me.
Kevin Aldridge, a.k.a. the voice of reason. How you doing, sir?
Doing good. We got to get Mac an intro.
Yeah, absolutely. You already know. So, Mac, I'll get with you and we'll make that happen. And Tamaya, Dennard, how are you doing?
I'm well, Nathan. Thank you for having me. It's good to see everybody.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Always a pleasure. And on our first show, we had some growing pains. We hadn't done a live stream for like over a month. So the system had to recalibrate a little bit. Got Terrace Horton. He says, what's up? What's good, guys? Tune in from Horton's Barbershop. Hey, good to see you, Terrace. Always good to see you. Oh, my God. Terrace is something else, man. Oh, my God. Just thinking about what he had to say on Tuesday was quite hilarious. So to the audience, we will put your chat on the screen just like this and let you chime in. And I will share a link as well. It says restream. It shouldn't say that, but we'll get it figured out. I'll share a link, and if you want to jump in on video like this, you can. If you don't want to put your video on, it's a way to call into the show. You can just use audio. Just as the show is getting started, we got Nat here. He writes TGIF, Nate and the crew, and Eloise. Good to see you, Eloise. Listen, tell people about it because, and you know, we spent about 3 months telling people that the show is no longer going to be live streamed to the Nathan Ivey Creative page. That's where it started. So that's where most of the audience was watching us. It is now only live streamed on our Facebook page, Hot Mic Cincy, or on YouTube, Hot Mic Cincy. And we're on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, obviously, and YouTube if you want to check out clips of the show. And the archives of the show will forever live on YouTube. Let's get straight into it because, man, there's so much to talk about. And we got Brother Dre here. I want to start locally because Brother Dre has been going straight off. And I just love the energy. And he's been going straight off. And maybe you can give me some insights about this. So Captain Pettis, is it? Captain Pettis was fired from the police force, black female. The only black female captain?
Only black, correct.
Only black female. Ever in history or right now?
Just the second in history. Captain Williams was the first. Captain Pettis is the second in history.
In history. And she was fired a couple years back. And in the last couple of weeks, she got reinstated with back pay. And Correct. It looks like it was a complete exoneration of all the charges against her. And I know you have been going off. So I thought, who better to get the thoughts about it than you? So give us, what don't we know? What should we know? Was Captain Pettis done wrong? If so, by whom? And what does this say about the police force and or the Sentinels in your opinion?
Ooh, my man, Nathan Ivey.
Yeah, I served it up for you real easy.
Yeah,
right?
you served
right
that plate up nice. I mean, the bottom line is, I always told people I got receipts. And years ago when it first came out, I was the first one who dropped a video saying, Captain Pettis, keep your head held high. Because I understand that whole system and how it operates. It was a vicious, direct attack on Captain Pettis because she was going to be in a position to be the next assistant chief. And because of that, they orchestrated what I call this coup against her. But like I said, you can never attack someone in black power unless a black organization assists. And that's where the Sentinel organization came in. And just imagine this, the first black captain is also the first black female captain who was banished from the Sentinel organization. Now make it all make sense. So she gets kicked out of the police department, fired, and a black organization who was designed to protect also votes her out. Illegally processed. It was terrible. It was horrible. And all the facts were given in her case. So when she got fired and seen all the evidence, we knew that she was going to have to get her job back, because the FOP, as much as people talk about them, the FOP was on point. They did their due diligence, released the high-powered FOP attorney to go through Captain Pettis' case. And I'm going to tell you right now, I was a key witness in the case because I was right there with everything that happened. So even when the Sentinels went after her with Phil Black, even CCA cleared her completely. So this should tell you, man, this was an orchestrated process to defame her character. And I'm just so happy that Captain Pettis has been reinstated with all back pay, benefits cleared by 3 arbitrators. And if people want to say, well, were they black, white? There was 3 white arbitrators, by the way. Okay. And they even said this was ridiculous and egregious case. And so this is the leadership that we constantly have, that Chief Fiji went after Pettis. She was then now terminated. And then the city manager has to sign off on it. So to be clear, and I'm about to close this out, that she was under investigation. She got required to get an 88-hour suspension. Chief Fiji gets the paperwork. She reviews it, says, I don't like that. Crosses it out and places termination. Then it goes to the city manager's desk and she concurs. There you have termination. So the whole system is flawed and the whole process. So I'm glad she is redeemed. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? I got receipts. So I can read the case, I can read the files, I can read the arbitrator's decision, and it's clear how she got her job back with all back pay and benefits. And I'm going to tell the city and the Sentinel organization that turned their back on her is absolutely ridiculous in first time in history, and I'm going to keep putting my foot on their neck for what they're supposed to stand for in this city.
Well, why do you think that this was done because she was in line to be an assistant chief and this was a way of derailing her trajectory, or was it personal? Like, what do you think was behind this?
Combination of things. Personal, a lot of people who just didn't like her, but she's actually very liked in the department. She's all about her business, but you have individuals that didn't like her supervision. And that always happens when a woman goes up in leadership, that all of a sudden she is a trouble. She's a problem. And she was in position to be the next assistant chief. So you have to understand this. If she walked in the same room with Chief Fiji, people will direct themselves to Captain Pettis because her whole entire demeanor, her knowledge, her education will stand through. And we know the art of war. You're going to need to get rid of anybody who's a threat to the next position that can possibly even be chief.
Okay. Well, someone is saying something about there's a weird sound in your audio. You know, it's that same issue we had before. It's just it's very weird and it's kind of messing up you know, what you're saying. But okay. Kevin, you want to jump in there? Can you kind of fix that, Brother Dre? Thanks, Sierra. How you doing, by the way? Hey, Vanita, Nat, Regina, everybody. What do you think, Kevin? What do you guys think?
No, I was just going to say one piece of reporting that that Dre left out is apparently Captain Pettis' attorney also alleged that this was part of a retaliation thing from Chief Fiji because Captain Pettis had filed a discrimination complaint against Chief Fiji. So they seem to be implying that a big part of this and a big part of the reason that she was being fired, in addition to the things that Brother Dre said, was that this was a retaliation on behalf of the chief because of the complaint that Captain Pettis had filed against her.
Interesting.
So now that she's been exonerated, and she'll get back pay, good for her. Does that mean she can be reinstated to her prior position, and will she be rejoining Cincinnati Police? I mean,
Yeah, how's my sound now?
better.
Okay, great. Just let me know. But yeah, she's been reinstated. Monday, she actually starts back. She has to go through a process of personnel where she has to get reacclimated, caught back up on some procedures because she's been fired for over a year. This whole process took over a year, which is a very, very long time. So she will be reinstated to captain position, and it's up to interim chief Henney to decide which department he wants to place her in at this time.
Now, will she lose? Does she lose credibility inside of the police department? Like, what's the culture like? Like, how do people look at her? Do other officers? And again, I know you can't speak for everybody, but I guess you're just giving me your opinion and maybe it's people you've spoken to inside the department. But how do the rank and file look at that? Do they look at that like she shouldn't be back, or she was exonerated and it was wrong from the beginning? Or does it come down to who liked her or who likes her?
You can't deny the facts, Nathan. That's if you didn't like her or do like her, the facts are the facts, and they're 100% clear on how this investigation took place. So really, there are always going to be haters in any journey you go through that don't want you in a position even when you've earned it. And that was the one thing I posted, is that she was never DEI. She scored second highest on the lieutenant's test, so she was number 2, and second highest on the captain's test. That means there was no DEI. She didn't get selected down the list and get put back up. She scored super high. So whenever you are a threat and whenever you carry yourself in a certain way, you always gonna have those haters in the mix. And so I can't wait till she gets reestablished, because at this point I think she's gonna be a strong asset. And the troops are welcoming her back, because the FOP, they actually cleared it 100%. And all the information is now public record.
Terrace is giving some suggestions. He said maybe it's the earbud, Dre. He says maybe you should use the CPU speaker and mic, because it's not as loud as it was before, but it's still discernible, right? And maybe uncomfortable for the listening audience.
Okay, I'll back
Tamaya?
out and try something.
Yeah. So the one thing I'd say is I think it's interesting how the internal politics of this has shifted, right? So when Pettis was originally fired, right? The city was lined up. Well, we're going to give Chief DG what she wants, right? Like, and now this just becomes another piece of that, just another thing on the pile of reasons that DG needs to go, right? Like, and so the internal politics has shifted dramatically, and this is another factor that looks like another bad decision by DG that the city will point to.
And not just a bad decision, a costly decision. I mean, this is a long string of payouts that the city has to make due to missteps and bad decision making, that then later they have to pay out people because they didn't follow proper procedure, or the grievances procedure, whatever. This ends up costing taxpayers because of the mishandling of discipline issues in the city.
Is this a reflection on the city manager or the mayor? Like, you're saying city, I mean, who do we blame for this?
I think. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Tamaya.
I was going to say, I think, and I'll just, in the spirit of transparency, I'm not a big fan of Chief DG, but I feel like she's had a number of questionable personnel decisions previously, not just Captain Pettis. I know Captain Pettis personally. I've always found her to be a wonderful person. I think sometimes with police in general, from a council perspective, not from a city manager perspective, because more administration, but I think there's a tendency to there's too much deference to police, in my opinion, and I feel like they are not managed. And I apologize, Brother Dre. This might fly in the face of how you feel as a retired police officer, but I feel like the city, and I have not not serve under with AFTAP or Mayor Pureball or City Manager Long. So my experience with police officers was with under Mayor Cranley's tenure, which I feel like in and of itself, it's just super problematic how there's such deference to the police department that is rooted in their, what's the word I'm looking for? I mean, the West Side is a strong voting bloc. And a lot of police officers are from that area. They're able to mobilize that area. And so I think sometimes there's not the oversight that needs to be on the police department from a city hall perspective. In my experience, I think sometimes there's such a tendency to give a blank check or to be hands off with the police in a way I don't think is very helpful to the community.
Yeah, Nathan, I'm going to come at this from a little different perspective in terms of how maybe folks should be looking at this. I think it brings into question the credibility of not just the city, but I think the police department as well. When you look at how these investigations are conducted, and when you see how Officer Pettis was treated, and when an arbitrator comes back and says, hey, this whole thing seemed to be a cooked up scheme to try to get at her, it only draws into question every single investigation that the police in this city do. How can you trust it? How can you trust it if they will turn on one of their own and try to cook the books on that person? How can we trust that they're not doing the same thing for residents in the city, businesses in the city, whomever? So this is a big problem of trust and credibility across the board and judgment from across the board. I think everybody in this process owns it, from those who were conducting the investigation all the way up to the city manager, because you got to make sure that the folks that you have in place have integrity, are above reproach, and that they're going to do things the right way, particularly if I'm the city manager and I'm signing off on it. And I know at the end of the day, it's going to, whatever, garbage comes from that is going to splash back on me. I'm going to make daggone sure the people who I have entrusted to do this are doing whatever they need to make sure that processes are happening in a fair, right, and just manner. And I think the fact that the city is blowing so many of these cases, you got to ask yourself, how can you trust any of it?
Well, you say so many. Okay, I know about how many cases have they blown?
Well, I mean, you look at the fire chief,
right.
Washington, who is, probably going to get a big check from the city based on the way that he was dealt with. I mean, there's some people who, Ken Kober and the FOP, they're still standing by, Thigi, saying that they felt like she was being done wrong. And up until, this incident with Pettis, I think there were a lot of people in the city who felt like she was being railroaded and sort of thrown under the bus. So, those are two very recent cases, and I'm sure you could probably go back and there would be many other cases in the past that people could point to where there have been some questionable firings and dismissals that have come back to bite the city and people have gotten their jobs back. I think we see it all the time in the police department where these actions are taken against officers. And when it goes to arbitration, they get their jobs back. So clearly there's not enough documentation. There's not enough protocol. There's not enough I'm missing the words, but in their performance evaluations, those are obviously not being executed, in the best possible manner, because, if you got a paper trail, if you got documentation, if you've given people an opportunity to correct and then they still can't do it, then you've got better grounds to dismissing people. It seems like in every single case, the arbitrators always come back in these cases saying the city didn't do their due diligence or didn't dot every I and cross every T. And that's a problem.
That's what I'm saying, though, Kevin. The oversight isn't there. And I think it has the reason it's not, there are voting and election implications as to why the oversight isn't where it needs to be.
So, how do you hear me now? I took off the mic.
Well, we'll see. And I do have a question. Perhaps you can answer this, Brother Dre. Shawana wants to know, so what happens to those that signed off on her termination without facts? Which I think is a fair question. What happens now?
Thank you. That's a great question. And that's where I'm going to follow up with Kevin said is, number one, who else is doing an investigation when it's been proven wrong? So you have citizens that call internal affairs and say, hey, I got a complaint on this particular officer, and this is what happened to me. And those same investigative officers are clearing the cases. And that's the problem. So there needs to be what I call a third party investigator, not just the CCA, but something that's clear and direct on how these investigations are conducted. Because during that tenure, you know, the chief can select who exactly they want in place for internal affairs. And that's a big, big problem. So I'm sure there are thousands of cases where officers have been implicated and nothing happens to them with these shady investigations. And this Captain Pettis should open up the door. When you sign off on falsified information, these individuals should be under investigation as well.
Yeah, I'm still hearing something. I don't know what it is. We're gonna have to work on that off the mic before you come on next time, Dre, so we can just get to. I'm sure it's a very simple fix, but we'll just put our heads together. But I can still hear something, and I know the audience can as well. Terrence writes, Brother Dre is cooking. All right. Well, anything else on that? I'll move on to the next topic. I mean, which is still local and within the same sort of theme, but this has to do with the Hamilton County commissioner's race. And, you know, a lot of people are still scratching their head about this one. Dems, that's Democrat Party, decide not to endorse in the Hamilton County commissioner primary. And even though you've already got an incumbent, that's Stephanie Dumas on the right, and it looks like Mika Owens, and who knew Mika had this kind of juice? There was people out there calling for her scalp because of how she decided to, a decision she made earlier in the term. But it looks like Mika Owens got juice because, as I understand it, she was trying to get the folks that make the decision about whether you're going to endorse or not to not endorse because she might be thinking about running as a Hamilton County commissioner. But what's interesting is she just got reelected as a member of city council with an endorsement. So what does this say? Here's the question. What does it mean when the party won't endorse one of its own?
It means this is more of the stuff that you can expect now that you see one party rule in Hamilton County and particularly in the city of Cincinnati. I've seen this in other places. Also, when you get Republicans as well, you start eating your own because you don't have any adversary against you. And the disappointing thing is that the Hamilton County Democratic Party endorsed in about 20 other races other than this one. This is, as far as I can tell, this is the only race that they didn't endorse in. And they endorsed the incumbent, if I'm not mistaken, in just about every one of those other races. And you choose not to endorse for a candidate who hasn't even pulled the paperwork yet over your incumbent. It's a slap in the face to Stephanie Dumas. Now, look, I'm not a Stephanie Dumas supporter or fan. I'm not a Stephanie Dumas enemy. I mean, I've criticized her in several places, her and Alicia Reese, for some of the spectacles that they did in front of county commission. This isn't about that. This is about that you're disrespecting an incumbent against, again, someone who just took an endorsement from your party to run for city council, got on, and now is trying to get off. I mean, I've got all kinds of problems with this situation. I don't have anything against Mika or Stephanie Dumas, but this is a joke right here. And the Democrats ought to be ashamed of themselves. Have some guts, stick with what you do, endorse everybody, or don't endorse at all. I love where they're talking about now, let the voters decide. Well, you know, that's what a lot of people are saying about that Democratic slate that you put out every election. Let the voters decide, but you put that out. Come on, man.
This is where I plug ranked choice voting. We'll talk about that in a minute. But ranked choice voting would have helped in this situation. But also, be clear, and I want people to be clear. And I'm the same way. I'm not, you know, I don't favor one person over the other. But I will say that this is not exclusive of Mika's appointment to Evan. There's some power plays behind the scenes that I think people aren't really aware of. I'm not saying Mika doesn't have any juice. That's not what I'm trying to say. But it's not just when you look on the surface, you're like, you know, Nathan, I didn't know Mika had this pool. Not saying she doesn't, but there were some things at play that might not be apparent to everybody. As someone who has been, you know, a former precinct executive, you know, held a position within a political party, just understand that this is not on its surface what you think it is. There's more happening right now.
Can you give us any, without naming names or whatever, can you give us more as to what you mean?
I don't pretend to be like an insider at this point. I am intentionally not an insider. Even when people try to drag me in, I stay out. But I will say this, just to not, you know, I don't, and this is not me being messy, but Evan has connections to our mayor, and that doesn't hurt Mika in this situation. I'll just leave it there. If you can pick up what I'm putting down.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and we know that, you know, 4th Street, as I refer to the business community and I don't mean small business, I mean big business, Chamber of Commerce has an outsized influence on politics in this town. That is no secret. They have huge, they put their thumb on the scales all the time. This is just one more example of that. And I think, you know, Jeff Birding was a big supporter of Dumas when the stadium deal was going down. He literally helped pay her fees with the Democratic Party. And maybe that's a secret. It's not anymore because I'm saying it out loud. Look, the people who have financial interests in this city influence local politics. And this is why the Cincy Precinct Project, I'm going to shout it out right now. There's a website, Cincy Precinct Project. It's with a Y. There's a meeting tonight. I'll be there. We are encouraging people to join the Democratic Party because this party needs reform. The endorsement process, basically, when you have one party rule, the primary becomes the election. So if you get that primary endorsement, you basically have won. And that's why now the primary has, you might say, why is the Democratic Party endorsing before people even barely pulled petitions? It's January. This election's not till November, right? This is about control and it's about voter suppression. And this is not what Democrats should be about. And this is why we've lost at the state and the national level and why we are now under a fascist regime, because these people down here in local politics are so blind with trying to get their own little power plays that we're losing everything. Okay, so real quick, Cincy Precinct Project, because there should not be any endorsements by a party pre-primary. If you really care and you want to engage with voters and you care about voter information and high information voters and voter engagement and getting people excited about politics and showing up to vote, how do you do that? You offer a real contest. You make people who are candidates go out, say, this is why you should vote for me instead of my peer here. It strengthens us in the long run, us meaning the big us. It's not picking favorites ahead of the time, and it's not letting special interests influence the outcome of elections. So I'll just leave it at that we need more people in the party so we can reform the bylaws and how things are done with this party so that we can stop this sort of insider control that picks winners and losers before people even make it to the ballot.
So do we all agree among the crew that the Hamilton County, the Democrat Party should not do endorsements pre-primary, or have they done that in the past?
They've done it in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So if they've done it in the past, why not keep doing it? I mean,
well, that's the problem. They're not consistent, right? So
yeah, there's no standard.
I would say you could make a case that you should endorse in judicial races. And I'll say why. Because in judicial races, there's no party affiliation. And you might want to help voters understand which judges are more Democratic leaning or who are more Republican leaning. In that case, and I can understand giving a pre-primary endorsement. But, you know, in the case of these party affiliated positions, that there's really no reason to endorse pre-primary. You should let people duke it out and let the best woman or man win, you know?
Yeah, I don't disagree with what Michelle said. Just be consistent. That's the problem that I have here with what the Democrats did in this case. And I think that I think if it had been any other candidate other than Stephanie Dumas, they probably wouldn't have treated this situation in the same way. You can't convince me that they would have. If let's just say for the sake of argument, if AFTAB had some sort of Democratic challenger, I don't care who it was, they would have still endorsed him in a primary anyway. So this is about personality. It's not about principle. And that's the problem that I have with what the Hamilton County Democrats did.
So do you guys agree with Kevin? So is this about Dumas? Is she not liked? Everything comes down to relationships and likability.
Yeah.
Does she not have the right relationships with the right people?
Yeah, I'm gonna say the quiet part out loud. People don't like her. I'm just gonna say it. People don't. I'm not people, but people don't. And she's not a favorite, even though she's won several times in cases in races where she was outspent. She won. And I Nathan, we really do need to have a conversation at some point about ranked choice voting and why we need it in Cincinnati. Like, it is because of when you hand someone the blue sheet and they go in and they vote for people down that ticket, and it takes the onus off of the candidates to talk about their stances, to actually debate issues, to talk about where they are, because essentially that you're right, that blue ticket is the gold ticket, and it's not fair to voters because you can sit on behind your whole term, but as long as you land on that blue sheet, you're safe. And this is why we need to come up. We're not powerless, but we just need to implement other things to make candidates earn the vote. And yeah, people have. I'm not, like I said, I'm not here to. I don't have in this race. I don't know who I'll vote for in this primary yet, because I'm gonna look at a number of factors. But it's interesting to me how Commissioner Dumas has won time and time again. And I remember a time, if y'all are from Cincinnati, remember when Hamilton County we couldn't get a Democrat elected Hamilton County commissioner? It was rough. They would do well in the city precincts, but when you start getting out there and east and west part of the county, they lost. She has managed to win, and I think that deserves to be recognized. But I just think that we need to look at for me, it's not really about them. It's about the Democratic Party and their processes. And that is what we need to be really honing in on. Also, what happens when someone gets the endorsement, even because I see, Cranley, I don't think was a Democrat. I'm gonna be honest with you. There's a couple people who weren't Democrats. There's people now who are running or trying to get the Democratic endorsement. They're not Democrats. They do that because they know in the city that's what helps them. But I could name plenty of people through the years who've not been Democrats. I can name people running right now who aren't Democrats, but they know that's the key. And ranked choice voting will help break that up because they all talk about their ideas and not just I'm democratically endorsed.
And I'd want to, I'm the last person here to defend the county Democratic Party, but in fairness to them, you've got these three high-profile positions in the commission. If you think that Mika Owens is going to better represent your party, better grow your party, rather strengthen your party, better help other candidates, I don't think any incumbent has the right to sit on their laurels and think that it's my seat, right? It's not, right? And now she's got to fight for it, right? And I think I generally think that's healthy. Now, whether the Democratic Party should endorse or not endorse, but I think that the fact that they did suggests they don't think they're getting as much out of that position as they could, and that the party will benefit from having Mika in one of those three spots, which are very high-profile spots, or ought to be. If you want to compete statewide, if you want to win more state legislative seats, if you want to win more statewide races, having people at the county level who can articulate your party's vision and grow the party is important. So I think that there's a sense, I have a sense that maybe they think Mika's better suited for that, and if Dumas has a chance in this primary to prove them wrong, but obviously now that the endorsement's gone to Mika, that becomes a harder thing for her to do.
The issue though, Mac, is and I appreciate Ms. Iris's point. They do it mostly with Black people and women. if we look at how this has happened, how this has, come about, in the short history, in just the last 20 years, it's almost always, when they do this, Black people and women that they do this with. So that dynamic can't go unnoticed.
I do have to say, Jeff Birding lost. He was an incumbent Democrat, and he lost his. He did not earn the endorsement of the party while he was an incumbent, and most of the reason was because of his betrayal of democratic values, including how he was treating public services and how he defunded things that he made promises on. For example, funding nurses in our public schools. He famously went back on that and voted to cut that funding. And we've never recovered from that. So that's just one example. It's very a unique example, but it is one where we had an incumbent white male Democrat who did not have the votes on the floor that cycle to have that blessing of the Democratic endorsement. But I will say that this endorsement has become so much more, to your point about the golden ticket, it is so extremely powerful now, good for Democrats, I would say, but the party must stick to their principles and values, or else you're losing people and you just become, a one party rule where you have people who are actually Republican or Republican-like or doing Republican things, saying that they're Democrats just so they can get that ticket. I mean, we've seen that judicial races. Now that the courthouse is turning blue, now we have people like Leslie Giz, who actually word on the street was she was going to try and pursue the Democratic endorsement. I mean, that's crazy, right? I mean, but that's not because, smart lady, right? Hey, if the only way I can win in this town is to be on that blue ticket, I'm going to do everything I can to get on that blue ticket, right? So this is why it's so much more important for this party to do the right thing and really embody the values that it says it does. Because, again, I'll go back to the Cincy Precinct Project. You have a whole lot of people in this town who are very fed up and frustrated with the backroom sort of horse trading that this party is now doing, and what we used to fuss about the Republican Party doing, right? But now this party's doing it. And this whole shenanigans about whether to endorse or not endorse, and it depends on who's in the wings or behind the curtain pulling the strings. People don't like that. This is why most of the many, many hundreds of precincts in this city are vacant. You have not seen a bunch of participation of grassroots, organizer people wanting to get out there and help hit the pavement and knock those doors and build our bench and kind of like make a strong party. We don't have that going on in this county party, and we need to. And this is why we lose statewide, and how we have Bernie Moreno and we have a DeWine, and we don't have a strong bench because we have not been doing the grassroots work that this party should be doing. And so when I saw the headline that, and I could have gone to the meeting. I was unable to go, but many friends of mine did go. I was on like 5 different chat groups, like text threads while this meeting was going on with all the, I gotta say this. There's, look at all the, like Chris Wederick with the Business Courier was live tweeting sort of saying, oh, wow, look at all these electeds in the room. Everybody, there's this guy and there's this person, all these. Okay, that's not good. Where's the real people? Like, okay, great. It's a bunch of electeds. They're voting for each other. Like, it's totally insular. Like, these are the people who are in these precinct positions. These are elected people. One of the reforms I would like to see is that if you're an elected official, you should not be allowed to hold a precinct seat, because we need real neighborhood people at the precinct level getting out the vote in their precinct, educating voters, helping register people to vote, getting out the vote. These electeds aren't doing that. They're just holding that seat so they can vote for themselves or vote for who they want, their colleagues. So this is just one example of the reforms that need to happen to really make a strong party. You have a whole room full of electeds, big deal. Are they going to go out and knock doors for someone that isn't directly affecting their race? No, they're not. But you have a neighborhood person who's a real dedicated Democrat who wants to see Democrats winning, we need to get those people elevated and, included in the party. That's how you grow your strength.
So Michelle, and again, if I'm speaking, if I'm out in front of my skis with this, just tell me. But Tamaya made the point that that Stephanie Dumas is not liked. From where I'm sitting, we haven't talked about this. It appears that perhaps you weren't liked inside the Democrat Party. Is that true? And if so, what does that feel like? What does that feel like?
It's about the powers that be behind, behind the curtain, so to speak. Yes, there are highly influential, wealthy, resourced forces at play. This is why they don't really care about the outer county precincts. They don't care about those precincts. They care about the city precincts. That's where the battle is right now. In fact, the party has hired someone just to recruit for the city precincts because they're so terrified that these crazy radicals are going to recruit a bunch of people that they can't control. I mean, that's how deep this is. So yes, there are forces at play. And when I ran for city council 3 times over, I was talking about the Port Authority. I was talking about TIFs and tax abatements and tax avoidance by business and corporations. And that's the kind of stuff I was talking about. That is a direct threat. That is not what corporate Democrats talk about, right? Tamaya? I mean, that's not what they want to hear. They want to say, oh, I care about, LGBTQ plus and let's do all this performative crap. Great. But that's not what I was running on. I was running on real stuff about where's our money going? Where's tax dollars going, right? And why is there so much corporate welfare in the city? Why are we building a soccer stadium with no community benefits agreement? No real one. Why is there no project labor agreements in this town, right? Why don't we have union apprenticeships being, all that stuff I was talking about. So yes, I was unliked because I was unliked. And by the way, I was actually very well liked by the community. And the way you know that is that without an endorsement, I still came within 1,000 votes of winning with no endorsement. And I was out, the 9th place was taken by Liz Keating and she outspent me 10-1. So I'm just saying, it's not like I was unliked by the people in the neighborhoods. I was unliked by, the powers that be in this party.
Does that tick you off?
And so, Nathan, let me say,
sure, go right ahead.
What Michelle just said kind of goes back to, my point earlier about this is not about principle, it's about personality. And I push back just a little bit on Stephanie Dumas not being liked. She was liked enough to win 2 elections that nobody thought that she was going to win. So it's a matter of who doesn't like her, not that she's not liked. She's not liked by particular people for particular reasons.
That's right.
So I think it's unfair to say that she's not liked. She's not liked by certain people who want to see her gone.
Agree. But what I'm also saying is that when running for office, so when she first ran, she had not a snowball's chance in hell. So they said. They thought that, oh, it's cute that she's running. And then she won. And then it's like the Democratic Party or party politics will use you until they don't need you anymore. And that's essentially what happened with her. When I say she's not liked, that was to say that by certain people. Obviously she won, but it was also a situation where she was a tool, and I hate to say it like this, but I'm just trying to be honest with you. They drove that car to get to the seat. And when nobody wanted to run, they had problems at times recruiting people. The Democratic Party has had trouble in the past recruiting people for certain offices. No, she's not liked by certain people. To your point, Michelle, about being liked, I think, and I think it's about control. People, once they figure out they can't control you, things happen to you. When you start talking about things that they don't like, things happen. So I'm a living witness. But I'm just saying, you have to. I'm just being honest, and she isn't liked by a lot of folks, and that's why you're right. If this was another candidate, I don't know if we're having this discussion. But I think her. I'm not saying she isn't effective, but I'm saying combination of her not being a party darling, in combination with the fact that there's some powers behind Mika, is where we have landed at this place. But it's not just because, there's some things happening behind the scenes, and it's not just one thing, it's a combination of things. But one of those things is she's not as liked by people. And I'm just telling you, I've been in rooms and had conversations. She's not as liked by certain people.
Well, going back to something that Kevin said, and I want to drill down just a little bit more. Like, is this about party politics, or are we really talking about human interaction? Right? Because the more you guys talk, the more I think about that reality show Big Brother. Like, to win the game, you got to win some of the games, but you also have to have a good social game. And that's true in any human interaction. People got to like you. They don't like you, they don't want to be bothered with you. Whether you're a politician, you could be a mechanic, you could be a journalist, people in the office or whoever, decision makers, the environment, them liking you means something. And isn't that what we're seeing? We're really talking about? Because you can talk about Massey. The president's got an issue with him. Now they're trying to push him out, trying to primary him. But isn't it like that everywhere humans are?
Well, yeah, I mean, definitely.
They can paint you as they called me dangerous Dillingham. Put out an actual mailer with some terrible picture of me, calling me a dangerous radical, defund the police Dillingham.
I like that. You should embrace that. Yeah, I am dangerous.
That's crazy. So I'm just saying, when the powers that be, I'll give you an example. People would stand and say she's anti-union. I work for a labor union. I literally am a union organizer, but they had people inside these inner circles talking negatively, and so it can be a whisper campaign, they call it, right? Where they start casting doubt and, disparaging your character. I mean, politics is very, very ugly. And this is why a lot of people don't actually run for public office, because when you have your own party doing this to you, and they've done it not just to me, but many others, that's why you only had 10 people run for 9 seats, not this last cycle, but the cycle before, is because they're bullies, and they literally retaliate against you for running on endorse. There's a lot of ugly stuff going on. I've been public about that. It's real. And people are sick of it. So I don't know. I just think that if you are running for public office and people are out there and they're, you have to be a people person. You have to have that X factor. You have to be able to relate to people. It is a skill. Stephanie Dumas has won somebody over. She's been winning races. And I just see this totally as a backroom deal, that they had someone, they cast doubt on her and said that, we should not endorse to another person who literally had not even pulled a petition yet, which is unusual, to defer endorsement for some threat that hasn't even actually pulled a petition yet. Clearly, there's some backroom stuff going on here, and it's just not good for democracy locally. It's not good for our party. It again looks like there's party insiders tipping the scale. Us regular people don't really know what's going on, and it's got a voter suppression effect. It's not good.
Here's what's interesting. So I've heard Stephanie Dumas referred to in this conversation that we've had as a tool, right? Some people look at her as a tool. Isn't that the same thing they were saying about Mika Owens not too long ago, when she gave up the black majority on city council and put Evan Nolan in, who we just heard again earlier in this podcast say, dude got clout, he's connected to AFTAB. Look, if you connect the dots here, are you really just trading one tool for another if you feel like that?
There's competing issues there, though. Using someone, it's been by like different people and to get different things. So, when Commissioner Dumas ran, I apologize, I'm saying her name wrong. When she ran, the party was just like, we just need somebody. Please run. We're not sure we can win. There was not a lot of money. She ran and she was effective. There's a different interest. There's a different result or a different thing that you want to have happen as a result of that tool. So of that thing. And I don't like the word tool. Maybe I should come up with, I need to think of a different word, but basically the means by which you want to get.
I think the words you use, I haven't just heard you use that word, Tamaya. I've heard a lot of people use that in reference to.
Yeah, I mean, but now you say it out loud. That's a word.
Reese called Stephanie Dumas a plant at one point in time. I mean, as I recall,
it just depends on who has the microphone in front of them. But I just feel like there are the Democratic Party, or any party. It's not. I'm not reducing it to Democratic. This, what do I want to have accomplished, and who can I use to get it accomplished? And it changes from time to time.
Well, I think Kevin, I think you hit on this earlier. I think at the end of the day, part of this is they know they're going to win the seat anyway. And so if you know you're going to win the seat anyway, you'd rather have your person in there instead of somebody who is not your person. Like that's just the reality of it. And you're not going to pay any price because you get the Democrats will hold the seat one way or the other. And if Dumas ends up winning in the primary, there's enough incentive for her to come back to the fold, just in terms of the support that she'll get from the party and all that other stuff. So it's sort of like what's the cost? What's the cost to putting your person in there? There's none. So we'll do that. And it's also a message. It's also a message to anybody else who's not your person that they better start being your person, right? So if you somehow found a way to get elected and you're not connected to the powers that be, well, you better find a way to get connected to the powers that be, because this will happen to you too.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think. Look, let's not say the Democrats did not endorse Mika. Let's make that clear. They were ready. They were going to endorse Stephanie Dumas until Mika came and said, no endorsements. So it's not like they didn't endorse Dumas and endorsed her. So to go this far to say that like she's their person, because again, Mika is coming to this election with her own baggage. Don't get it twisted that there are a lot of folks who haven't forgotten what she did on city council. Now she managed to overcome that and win re-election again, but we've talked about the power of the Democratic slate. And I think even Mika recognizes that, because that's why she didn't want them to do it. I think she recognizes that if Stephanie Dumas had gotten the endorsement from the Democratic Party, that would have probably been a wrap for her. So here's what you're looking forward to with the Democratic Party. And here's why I agree with what Michelle is saying about more average, everyday people needing to get involved. Business interests in the city of Cincinnati and in Hamilton County recognize that the days of the Republicans are gone, right? So where do you think they are going to shift all of their money and attention to? It's trying to get their preferred candidates elected. There's a saying in politics that says there are no permanent friends or enemies, only permanent interests, right? And business community has their, and the power brokers have their interests at heart. And so now that you've got one party rule in Hamilton County, you can expect those dollars. I mean, the lenders were one of the biggest supporters of AFTAB, in this most recent Cincinnati mayoral election. So the people of Cincinnati better wake up. And Michelle has used the word corporate Democrats, that is what is waiting for you ahead in Cincinnati, is corporate Democrats who the business community here in Cincinnati and Hamilton County are going to begin to funnel money into and support their campaigns. As I always say, follow the money. And as Michelle said, candidates like her, Tamaya, when she ran and won, might have been an outlier in terms of somebody who wasn't particularly that and was able to overcome that and win. But there will be
Kevin, I'm really likable.
Well, that too, that works in your favor. But there's going to be a tremendous amount of money spent to neutralize certain folks and uplift others. And that is the dynamic that, Cincinnati and Hamilton County can look forward to now that there's really no contest for the party at present for these elected positions.
Well, if we do this precinct project successfully, that's going to change. And I'll give an example. The practice of this party, and it was, its practice is that they have registered lobbyists serving on endorsement committees. So just think about that. Here you are, a candidate, you're interviewing before an endorsement committee for a precious blue ticket endorsement, and everyone around the table is a registered lobbyist for the city of Cincinnati, or these are the very people that if you're elected, then they're going to be coming to lobby you in your office. And so this is corruption to me. Okay. This is just point blank. This party should not allow registered lobbyists to serve on endorsement committees. Okay. That's just one little in the weeds point, but there's a lot that goes on with this party that has increasingly become more and more just like this is. I made this point. If there's all 9 Democrats on city council, and I can't tell the difference between if there's all 9 Democrats on city council and a 5-4 split, even 5 Republican, 4 Democrat, what are you doing with the power that you have, that we have invested in you as voters to represent the values of the Democratic Party? Right? So this is why people are leaning in and saying, you know what? I don't like, we have all 9 Democrats and I can't tell the difference. And voter activity has not gone up. We have vacant wards. We have entire wards that have no precinct captains in them, right? That just goes to show there's no involvement at the grassroots level. Okay, so I'm repeating myself, but I'm just saying there is a deadline to file for precinct executive. It's February 4th. You don't even have to collect not one signature. All you got to do is fill out a form. And you too can be on the ballot in the primary to serve as precinct executive for your neighborhood. And you might have a contest. There might be other people there, but good for you. Then you have to go out and you meet your voters and you talk to them about why you want to be in the party and serve as a precinct executive, because you want to have more representation in the party. Because right now you walk in a party room and it's all electeds in there for the most part, or people who have or they're lobbyists. There's very few just regular people that you meet when you go to a community council meeting, like regular folks. And so we want to change that. And guess what? I'll close with this. You know what else they did to even further control the thing? They have changed the precinct executive length of time from 2-year to a 4-year. This is just another example. This is the wrong direction, folks. We did that with council. We thought, well, if we went from a 2-year to a 4-year term, people will be more courageous and do the tough stuff because they don't have to face their voters within a year. None of that happened. So the voters said, you know what? The 2 to 4 year thing didn't work. We didn't have more engagement and we actually had less. So we went back to the 2-year term. That's what the voters said. Let's go back to the 2-year term because we're not feeling even listened to. And so similarly, this party has decided that precinct roles should be a 4-year term. So that's another reform that needs to happen. But anyway, so this is why this is so important. And you're hearing a lot about it now because now the party's worried that they're not going to have their tools in there that they can control to control the endorsement committees for the next 4 years. So sign up, folks. Don't complain about the party. Be the party. Make the change.
And with that, I'm going to move on. So how do you feel about celebrities that make political endorsements? A lot of folks have been talking about Nicki Minaj. Now, what's so interesting is just a few years ago, she appeared at that time to be against or anti-Trump and his policies. Now she says that he is her favorite president of all time. She most recently, as of the last couple of nights, it might have been last night, attended the opening of Melania, which I'm sure everybody in the audience is going to go see today or stream it as soon as you can. And she also has been flashing a gold card. It's not a Visa card. It is her citizenship. Apparently she came to this country as an illegal immigrant, but now she's been given Donald Trump's $1 million gold card. She's been flexing that she got it for free. And now she is a permanent citizen. And a lot of people are upset with her about this. But my question is, you know, at the end of the day, everybody got to do what they got to do for themselves and their families. If that's what Nicki is doing, what's the problem? Or is there a problem?
I'm gonna be at its premise. No, we shouldn't just do whatever we need to do I think that's a very selfish. That's why we're in this mess, because people are looking at their own interests and not looking at what is good for humanity, and they looking at what's good for themselves. So I think just in of itself, that your statement of people need to do what they need to do for themselves in their own interest is problematic.
Okay. I mean, at the end of the day, isn't that what people do though, Tamaya? They protect themselves and their families.
Yeah, but that doesn't. It's not a zero sum game. Like it's not an all or nothing. It's not like it's not all or nothing. So yes, you can do what you need to do for your family without compromising your soul or being a grifter.
Well, I mean, again, I'm not in Nicki Minaj's shoes, but she appeared to be dealing with this kind of situation. You got ICE that is doing what ICE is doing. She is not up to this point. She wasn't a permanent U.S. resident. So she decided to flex her personality and her celebrity in favor with an administration that is open to those kind of things. I mean, we all know that our president's open to flattery. So she hit him with the flattery flex, and he hit her with the gold card. Now you're a U.S. citizen.
That just goes to show how much of a sham Donald Trump's push to get illegal immigrants out of the country actually is. The only reason Nicki Minaj is getting that is because of her status and her profile and the fact that she'll go out and kiss his butt in front of her millions of followers, and he sees some benefit behind this. But this is something that should outrage MAGA Nation. Everybody in MAGA Nation should be fit to be tied with this and ready to say, hang Donald Trump, because here he is giving special favors to somebody who had undocumented. Isn't that exactly what Republicans rail against and say that the reason why they don't want to give amnesty or any other kind of program for people who are already in the country? Should it make a difference because Nicki Minaj is a celebrity? No, it shouldn't. Not if you stick to the hard line that some of these MAGA folks and what Donald Trump is spouting. But it's just more of the hypocrisy and BS that they try to shove down your throat and insult your intelligence with and think that you should just take it. But it's like you said, Nathan. Look, this is where we're at in this country. If I like you and you do it, it's cool. If I don't like you and you do the exact same thing, then you're a traitor, you're a domestic terrorist, you're all of this type of stuff. I gotta say this point, and I know people will say it ain't the same, but it's so funny to hear all of these Republicans who try to defend ICE, who want to say that Alex Preddy had coming to him what he did because he kicked the taillight or did something like that. These are the same folks who argued vigorously when Alex Travinsky got his butt kicked and he kicked the taillight too, but there was no justification for what the quote unquote mob did to him, which I happen to agree with, by the way. But then they'll try to justify ICE shooting a guy 9 times. Come on, man. I mean, this is the type of hypocrisy and double standard that folks do. They don't stand on principle. They stand on popularity and who they like. And this is just a perfect example of how Donald Trump is full of so much of the crap that we've always believed in him. And
okay, can y'all hear me now? Because I should sound real good now.
Yeah, so far so good. What's going on? What's your take, Brother Dre?
Man, let me tell you something. Trump is a mad scientist, mad genius. Okay, in this game, one thing you said, Kevin, is that MAGA Nation should be mad. Why? If it pushes his agenda, you're going to put in place who you need to put in place to make sure you get a whole bunch of votes. Now, Nicki Minaj got a lot of followers that follow her. Now, imagine all those young followers now and the individuals that want to look at Nicki Minaj and she's up there supporting Trump. So at the end of the day, Trump don't care what color you are. If you can push the agenda to get exactly what he wants, guess what? You see that smile on the screen right now? He's sitting back like, oh yeah, get busy because you're going to help me elevate to the next level. Now, we know all throughout history that's been the game, and he understands the game. He going to do whatever it takes to make sure he stays in office. He will use whoever he needs to use to stay in the office. And this has been consistent. Just follow the money. And clearly, Trump has put a lot of people in his back pocket, and he has what we already know, the Trump card, and he will continue to use other celebrities to push the agenda.
Yeah, I just want to tell you, Brother Dre, Nicki Minaj, her followers has plummeted. She's losing popularity. People have a lot of disdain for her grifting. So I don't know if she's like, that's not the flex that he thinks it is, it's not the flex that she thinks it is. But I just feel like it is about the inconsistency, the hypocrisy. It's just hilarious to me. So, but I would never use Trump and genius in the same sentence. Maybe
mad genius, mad scientist.
Maybe
there's a word for that. It's called megalomaniac.
Yeah, maybe a smelly one, but not a mad one. I just think that like for Nicki Minaj, it's just something like, okay, let me back up the bus. So Nathan, I'm not saying that I don't know if I would have gotten a pardon. Didn't even try. But I don't want one from Donald Trump because I vehemently stand against Donald Trump. So it doesn't always have to be what's best for me. Let me go out for what's best for me. Maybe my life wouldn't be made. And like I said, there's no guarantee I would have gotten it. I will never know. And I don't want to know. I didn't want it. So I'm someone who could have like, let me see if I can get it. It'll help me maybe. But no, you don't have to always just do what's best for you. And I didn't go for it and ask for it, and my life is just wonderful. So it's not always a just thing.
In no way could I ever tell anybody what to do. But since you brought this up, it's interesting. Let me push back a little bit. So I hear you, and I respect that. But the other side of that could be like a pardon is a pardon is a pardon. You know what I'm saying? Like how you feel about Trump is irrelevant. If he gives you a pardon, that makes your life better. You can go out and do good. So what difference does it make? All that principle, smishable stuff.
No, I'm principled. He's a piece of crap. I don't want it from him. I don't want anything that even makes him seem even remotely valid or have some leg to stand on in my life. Like I don't accept it. Like if you say, like literally, like I said, we'll never know if I would have gotten it or not. I could be saying, and he could be like, hell no. But I'm not going to go after it because I don't believe in who he is. I don't believe in what he's done to people who look like me. And I don't want it. Like when my attorney came to me and said, what do you think? My immediate, where's not like, let me think about it. It was a no.
That's right. And let's think about local example, politically speaking. If I Google PG Sittenfeld and say I'm a young voter and I wasn't around, when he was on council and he's like, I don't know much about the guy. And I Google him and one of the first articles I see is that he got a pardon from Trump. That's going to turn me off probably if I'm a Democrat and a voter who does not like Trump or what he stands for. I'm going to be like, wait a minute, this dude accepted a pardon from Trump. Like, okay, now I'm questioning your values because to me, it's a sellout move, right? Like, okay, you were willing to make the moves to get that pardon. How can I trust that you really stand for what you say you are standing for now that I know that you pursued this? I'm just saying it does matter.
I hear you, but I forgot all about your situation until you just said that. I mean, so you're saying you would never pull a Nikki because the president's open. He's open to flattery. He's susceptible to it. So you can say some nice things about him on your social media and then change the rest of your life.
And so that's what I'm saying. Like it would have looked crazy for me. Like, and y'all know my post. Like what I say, hashtag. You know what I say. I can't do that and believe in what I'm saying and turn around and when it serves me, to be like, oh yeah. And I'm not criticizing what people need to do for their family or for themselves, but for me, I don't respect him as a person. I'm gonna keep it clean. And there's nothing I want to do. I want nothing to do with Donald Trump. That includes a pardon that maybe or maybe not could have helped me with my life, but I am able to travel the world. I'm able to have a wonderful job. And the pardon it's not a zero-sum game for me. Like it's not all or nothing.
You might be able to run for office again. How about that? And do a lot of good as an elected official.
I entertained it this last election cycle, but I thought, why would I do that to myself?
It is one of those things though, Nathan, where I think and this is nothing new. What Nicki Minaj is doing is nothing new. And we have these conversations in all different facets. Some people stand on principle. That means something to them. If they have certain beliefs and things, they stand by that. They stand 10 toes down on that. You have other people who will compromise their principles if it means that they can get ahead or get some kind of advantage or something that benefits them. You see it in Hollywood all the time where you hear certain actors, particularly black actors, talk about, I'm not going to wear a dress. I'm going to turn down this role. I'm not going to do that because I have my principles. But there's always another brother or sister that's waiting in the wings who like, I need that bag. And they will go get that bag and they will put on that dress, or they will play the gangster role or whatever it is.
It worked for Martin. Shanae. I said it worked for Martin. Shanae.
Hey, look, and some people will, I don't want to characterize it like this, and don't take this literally, but it's the same thing. It's sort of biblical. What does it profit a man to gain the world yet lose his soul? You know, some people don't mind giving up a little piece of their soul for profit. And like you said, that's that person's decision to make that. But I don't have to respect it. But unfortunately, we are living in times where the types of principles that we are talking about are in short supply, because you see people, Donald Trump makes you trade on your principles to be in his orbit. You see all of these people around him who are genuflecting every day, lying, kissing his butt, doing all sorts of things so that they can have a spot or be in his orbit. And the problem with that is, and Nikki is finding this, and everybody who is in Donald Trump's orbit eventually finds this, is you're the one who winds up paying the price no matter what you get in the short term. That's the thing that people can't understand. And that's why you got so many of these people in Hollywood who are on drugs and at Diddy parties and doing all of these other things, because they cannot live in their heart and in their psyche with the decisions that they've made to sell their soul. And some of that stuff that you see is a byproduct of them wrestling with that.
Terrace writes, but it was okay when Megan Thee Stallion was twerking for Kamala.
Not even the same, Terrace. I love you, Terrace. That's a mess.
Yeah, there's some
I
differences.
I feel what Terrace is trying to say, and I was going to say that I thought you were going to go in a different direction with the question about celebrity endorsements of candidates and do they matter. I was going to say, of course they matter. It's the same reason Michael Jordan is on TV selling ballpark franks and Duracell batteries and drinking Coke. Fame and celebrity, people who are attached to that, people who like those individuals, often try to mimic and take advantage of the things that those people do, because it makes them feel like they're significant because they're drinking or eating or drinking the same kind of champagne that Diddy drink or whatever. People follow that. So you can't say it doesn't matter. To Terrace's point, that's the reason why you get Beyonce and Jay-Z out there. That's why you call in Michelle and Barack Obama. You bring in all of these people who are popular because you want their followers to support you. So it does matter from that standpoint.
And, for the people who are criticizing Nikki, I got to say this, is that, people make tiny compromises, if you want to say sell their soul or whatever, for jobs all the time. Right? I mean, just to keep that paycheck coming in, you might have something you want to say in the office meeting and you just know it ain't the right time to say it. The boss or the supervisor might say something, they wrong or it's in the wrong direction. You just got to eat it. So that's just a part of life. And so Nikki decided, hey, I'm trying to be an American citizen here. Maybe she's got some other legal issues with family members. And Trump seems to be the kind of guy that if I'm cool with you, you can make everything go away. So she's just doing what she got to do. She's making the same trade-off that people do on jobs every single day. Somebody's on their job right now pissed off because the boss is doing something or told them to do something and they know it's wrong and they got to roll with it because they want that paycheck.
It's not the same.
How's that any different?
It's not the same thing.
Okay, tell me how it's different.
She's not going to not eat because she didn't support Trump.
I know, but she's talking about not being an American citizen.
She's going to leave the country. Yeah, no, she'd have been just fine. Like that is like literally not the same thing. I appreciate where you're coming from and then trying to stir the pot a little bit, but that ain't it.
I hear you. I remain unconvinced, but I think it's the same, quite honestly. But I hear what you're saying.
Hey Nathan, well, let's play devil's advocate.
Okay.
You have a loved one that's in jail, that's been served for over 20 plus years, and Trump can pardon them. Do you say, nah, I don't want you to get out, or he can stop a execution? Nah, well, I just want you to stay executed or don't get out of jail. I think it's always the circumstances that when we say no, it's in a controlled environment right now. But if you get pushed to a particular point, you will be surprised what you will do, who you will sell out to get yours at the dinner table. And just in my career alone, I've seen it happen. So it's the saying is, by the grace of God, there go I. There will be some situations that you're gonna have to make some decisions that is strictly for you and your family and how the situation is placed out. That's just the reality of life. So I can't always say what I won't do if I'm placed in a position. And Kevin, you mentioned what would it profit a man to gain the world, lose his soul? But you can also appreciate that Joseph was in Egypt and got called up to be second in charge in a pagan land, just like Daniel was an advisor to King Nebuchadnezzar, who was crazy pagan. So it's you just don't know the influence or your circumstance that you can have to be placed in a certain position to maybe make change. We just don't know that if you called up and you can make a difference, maybe
it's okay. So you and Nathan saying it's okay.
He's got a good point, but see, this is why it's so important that all of us who are observers of her decision should be, instead of maybe beating up on her because we don't know or whatever, to your point, Brother Dre, but really the critique is that we should not live in a country that you can buy favor from a president for your own, that's the problem, right? It's not a problem. That's her decision, whatever. The problem here is that now we're in a country where we're now able to buy justice. And, of course, that's always been that way. But from the perspective of, the Great Society and the American dream and these values that we hold, that we're all created equal and and justice is blind and all these things that we like to talk about, that we want to live in this kind of society. We've never gotten there, but we're certainly going way in the other direction here, that now I can buy my way into, having rights. That's the problem, right? So while we might not be able to give Nikki the blues, what we do need to say is that this is not okay, that we now have a society where this is how I have to get justice. It's pay to play. That's the problem.
Well, Michelle, you said it, though. This isn't anything new. And this is why I said that MAGA nations should be outraged, because Donald Trump, the first time he ran on this whole platform of draining the swamp, right? Like, that was his whole thing. Like, there are these privileged and entitled people who get things who get privileges that the average everyday person, you out there in Appalachia, you tread upon grievous white people who are falling prey to DEI and all of this other stuff, these other unfair things. This is what Donald Trump ran on. Yet he turns around and gives Nicki Minaj the gold card visa.
Well, when
right?
you're in a cult,
she's in the country undocumented as well, and it's brown skin.
She's different. She's exceptional. She's talented. She's different.
That's
right?
my whole point. That's my whole point. That's my whole point.
Yeah.
That's my whole point to what I'm saying, Michelle. We're agreeing.
Yeah.
That's why MAGA Nation should be upset, because Donald Trump ran against this idea of exceptional people getting favors that other people could not. And this is a textbook example of him engaging in it. But his people are so indoctrinated, they've drunk so much of the MAGA Kool-Aid and the red hats that they don't even see when Donald Trump is playing in their face. That's the sad part about it. This is nothing new. Donald Trump has changed nothing. He's exploited it while using the people that he's exploiting to make himself rich and to stay in power. That's all this has been.
Mm-hmm.
Nicki Minaj ain't out there buying no Donald Trump.
When Nicki Minaj takes out an ad in the New York Times, when Nicki Minaj takes out an ad in the New York Times in 4 years to apologize, she can miss me with it, just like Tamaya.
Okay, interesting. Let's move on. Let's talk about Don Lemon. Don Lemon was arrested. He was arrested along with 4 other people over a protest that happened at a church in Minnesota. And I didn't watch all of the live stream, but I watched a significant piece. He seemed to be there covering it as a journalist. But using some laws, the Trump DOJ has now arrested him. And I was looking at some of the comments in some of the more conservative media channels, and they are loving it. They love it. They love it. It's like, yeah, that's what we've been looking for. But here's my question. If a journalist knowingly participates in a protest that disrupts a private gathering, does that cross the line from reporting to activism? And does that mean that journalists should just accept whatever legal consequences come with that?
Well, first of all, if you're defining it like that, if a journalist actually participates in a protest, then I would say not only should that journalist be subjected to any legal consequences, they should probably be fired. Because the one thing that they always tell us is in journalism is you are not part of the story, you cover the story. So Don Lemon, from everything that I've seen from the video, he was there in a journalistic capacity covering it. In fact, even one person that he interviewed referred to him as a protester. He clearly says in the video, no. I'm here covering this as a journalist. He's talking to people from both sides. He interviewed the pastor of the church, for Christ's sake. No pun intended. So these charges that Trump, they're literally trumped up charges. And I think for those on the right who are cheering this, and this goes back to the point that I said earlier, when somebody doesn't like you, it's fair game for whatever injustice can be perpetrated on you or whatever. But if it's somebody you like, then I'm going to go to the carpet and argue against you, whether you like Don Lemon or not. This is a First Amendment, freedom of speech, journalism question here. And Don Lemon was doing nothing other than doing his job. Now, until somebody shows me some other footage or something to the contrary, Don Lemon holding a sign, Don Lemon chanting alongside with protesters, Don Lemon getting in shoving matches with people from the church or whatever, I'm not buying it. And we all ought to be concerned about this as just more further tactics of Donald Trump trying to erode our rights, our constitutional rights, and assert authoritarianism here in this country. And anybody who's cheering this, you need to have your head examined because you don't really understand what's going on.
There's a lot of people cheering. I mean, can you talk more, Kevin, like inside journalism circles, what are people saying? What's the mood?
Well, I mean, journalists all over the country are beside themselves. I mean, I haven't watched Fox to see what they're saying about this, but a lot of journalists are looking at this as the opening volley, Trump's opening volley in terms of trying to go after the media. I mean, he's been going after the media since day one from fake news because he understood very clearly that if I can delegitimize the media, if I can get people not to trust the media, then I can get away with whatever because they are the one. And I'm not saying that media is perfect, that we get everything right. But by and large, media tends to try to report the facts and the truth as they know it. And it is the one sort of fair arbiter that you get of trying to put facts out there. Donald Trump wanted to get rid of that so that you only believed him. Now he's getting much more aggressive. In his second term, now he's getting much more aggressive. You saw he went after, I think it was a Washington Post reporter and raided that reporter's home and got a whole bunch of stuff out of there. All of this stuff is incredibly disturbing. And again, you cannot like the media. I tell people all the time, wait until we're not around anymore. You might not like what we do, and what we do might not be perfect. But just wait till you ain't got it no more. And what should be equally terrifying is once you get rid of mainstream legacy organizations that actually have the financial wherewithal and the legal ability to challenge Donald Trump in court, you talk about all these podcasters and all. Don Lemon is an independent journalist right now. He does not have the same level of resources behind him that he had at CNN. So it's a lot easier to shut him down because he ain't got that kind of backing. So everybody out here that's like, oh, we got this podcast network and we got
That's right. Let me say to your point, Kevin.
For Donald Trump to pick you off and eliminate you.
There is a local guy in Ohio. Some people know him as the Rooster. He's an individual who runs his own social media. He had thousands of followers on Twitter. He's helped break stories. He's just an observer, really. Goes to the State House. Have you guys heard of this guy, the Rooster?
I've heard of him. Yes.
Well, his Twitter account got suspended because Kristi Noem, apparently he criticized the killing of that Alex Preddy, I think I'm saying his name right, in Minnesota. And they shut his Twitter account down, which is really significant because the guy had thousands of followers. He was a regular. He was at the State House. He was like a watchdog. He would interview politicians. I mean, he's really influential in Ohio politics, really. He's shifted over to Blue Sky now, I think. But just to your point, I mean, we don't have to wait long for this to happen. Already, we see a local guy who's just a regular guy doing watchdog politics has just had his account suspended, because he criticized the federal government. So that is where we're heading.
What we're seeing, though, is that people like this country. When I was saying this a few podcasts ago with you, Nathan, it was like this country is really a farce. These things that people say they believe in, these principles, they're only believing them to the point to which they themselves are served. So it's this is why you will never see me stand up for the national anthem, because it's a farce. This whole land of the free, home of the brave that they drill in your head when you're a kid, it's not. It never has been for certain folks, and not even certain folks, Black people, gay people. It's just if you're not a white men are the only people in this country who have not had to have an amendment or to give them rights. Cisgender white men have not been have been given any rights. And I believe in freedom, but not everybody can be free, right? I believe in your freedom until it infringes upon anything that I have or my rights. And so that lets you know it's not really the freedom that you are believing in, it's your own privilege. So that's the problem with this country. And we're seeing it more and more. Like, that's why, it's not about it's not about immigration. They made us feel like, oh my God, we got to get folks out of here. It's not about immigration. And then the Pam Bondi letter will let ICE, we'll take ICE out of Minnesota if you give me your voter roll. Like, that's not getting the attention that it deserves. That is insane. And we think about like Watergate and like what happened during Watergate. Watergate would be, they committed like Watergate type stuff in the first Trump administration. Like this is like pretty much this whole thing is a farce. And it's just sad to watch people who like, talk about freedom and they're like, oh, I went to war and I did this. But did you go to war so that, what were you going to war for? White people? White rights? Like white people here in America? I'm just interested in like, to what degree are you interested in the Constitution? It's just weird to me how, that's why I can't go for doing what you got to do for what you need. That's not a thing. Like, that's not what Nicki Minaj is doing. That is not, she's going to eat. She's going to be just fine. Now if you ask somebody who has meager circumstances, that's a different situation. That's like, it was kind of like a weird, I know what you were saying, Dre, and I know what Nathan was saying, but it's not the same thing. So I just think it's just really problematic how that, and that's why I knew this was a bunch of mess. And if we just listen to the national anthem, we look at these documents, they wrote these documents while they were eating Black people. That's crazy. They wrote these documents while they're enslaving Black people. Like, so that lets you know they didn't really have us in mind, nor did they ever have people of color in mind. So that's why I'm just like, no, it's not whatever you need to do. And it's not about immigration. It's about control. It's about authoritarianism. It's about fascism. They just want everything to be controlled by a certain group. And the people who really control, because Donald Trump is not a genius. There's nothing genius about him. He is really not that bright. There's people who are really pulling the strings that we will never see. That's the issue that we don't understand. There's people and by design, we will never see who's really calling the shots. He's getting a fraction. I guess we'll get to it where he's suing the government for $10 billion. Like, he's getting
IRS.
Yeah, he's getting money, but the people who are really pulling the strings, the people who are benefiting from these contracts, people who are benefiting from the kidnapping of Maduro, there are things that people are benefiting, and we'll never see these people, but we get mad at the people who are closest to us. We get mad at people because we're accusing them of welfare fraud, and we get mad at the people who are proximate to us, but we don't get mad at the real enemy. And the real enemy are these corporations and Donald Trump, but we'll get mad at the Latinos and the immigrants and the Black people and the gay people. And it's not that we are not the reason why you don't have what you need to have. And that's the crazy part. So this, and that's, so it just bewilders me. And Terrace, I love you. But when you were saying we got Nicki Minaj and y'all got, who is we, Terrace? They ain't mess with you either. Like, that's what tripping me out. They don't like you. Like, it's wild to me, I swear, but I'll be quiet. But like this we stuff, I'm like, Terrace, you got worms, you speaking French. Like, there ain't no we according to them. You ask them white man who we is, you're not included, bro.
Hey, you know what? To Tamaya's point, thank you for being transparent. I always like your emotion, and you break it down and you speak from the heart. Control the media and you control the masses. And that's the bottom line. And it's interesting because, Kevin, if you remember, we said last year is going to get worse. We told everyone, say, get ready, it's going to get worse. And what you do in the art of war, you test the temperatures. How is people going to start to adapt? You see so much of Trump was constantly saying, hey, we got illegal immigrants. He's been saying that for years, programming you mentally to almost when he did it, you go, oh, it's cool, they illegal, something wrong with them. And now all of a sudden you see it in real time. And you start to just sit back like, yeah, that was messed up, but it's not me. And I'm sitting here going, Black and brown people better pay attention because you on it next. Because the one sister, Nikita, made a comment. She said, if you ain't at the table, you on the menu. And that's a strong statement because at some point after I done tested the waters to see what I can get away with, there at some point going to be another mass incarceration, and it's going to be of Black people right here in the United States. Because he's going to push the envelope, have another type of ICE crew to say, hey, if you on probation, you are not following the proper rules of investigation, we just going to swoop you up and we going to have a nice facility waiting for you for life. So people better pay attention to the temperature that's being set and how are you really looking at individuals that are being arrested, treated wrong, shot at, and it's almost like it's okay because we're being programmed by the media to think it is. So Trump knows I control the media, I'm going to control the masses.
Yeah, I mean, to have regular Americans being called domestic terrorists, to have our activities being surveillanced, monitored, being put on lists. I mean, this is the kind of crap that people leave countries for because they don't feel safe anymore. I just want to mention there is a big protest / rally today in Cincinnati. It's called Stand with Minnesota, Ice Out, a National Day of Action. It is today, Friday, January 30th at 6 p.m. At 1000 Main Street. I don't know if that's a Fountain Square address. I'm not sure, but I just thought I'd mention it because getting out in the streets, saying that this is not okay, this is not normal, is really important. We have to continue to do that if you can and you're physically able. Oh, it's the courthouse? Okay, yeah. 1000 Main Street. Ice Out National Day of Action starts at 6 p.m. tonight. So, yeah, I had said last year, we're going to see more protests, increasing, more rallies, more street actions, and we have to do this. What fascists don't want us to do, which is to say we're not going to lapse into a place that this becomes normal and that this is okay. We're going to reject it and say this is not okay and continue to fight it, so.
One of the things that I will say that I agree with, I think Tom Homan said it, J.D. Vance said it at one point. The protests have got to move from, hey, we're going to be at the courthouse. Hey, we're going to be at the square. Hey, we're going to be out at these streets monitoring what ICE is doing. Look, the real protest has got to be with these elected officials, these feckless, inacting Congress people who are sitting on their hands and not doing anything. And both of them have said it. They've said, hey, instead of being out here, and I understand why people are out, trying to protect their neighbors with ICE, but But Holman made the point. The major problems are starting in the halls of Congress, where you have elected officials who are not doing their jobs, who are not protecting the Constitution, who are not standing up for things that in the past that they've stood up for, but now suddenly under this administration. And they're doing it because they're saying that they're afraid of MAGA. Now, I'm not saying that people should be into the violent, sort of threatening type tactics that these folks are afraid of from MAGA, but the voting public needs to make these people afraid of the fact that we're not going to hurt you physically or do anything like that, because we don't believe in that. But we are going to hurt you next time you go up for election. We are going to hurt you in these different ways, and let these people know that they have to be as afraid of the public who does not go along with this as they are MAGA, because that's what you always hear. Oh, they don't want to do this. They don't want to do that. And you also got to let them know, hey, we'll also protect you if you do the right thing. So if you're afraid of MAGA, we're going to back you up for doing the right things, for protecting the Constitution, for doing those. So we're going to hold you accountable. If you don't do that, we're going to get you at the ballot box. But if you do the right thing, we're going to stand with you and make sure that the threats of violence and these other things that you're afraid of can't come back to rear their heads, because that is where the real problem, the inaction on immigration from Congress, Republicans and Democrats, it's been a better issue to run on than to fix it. Look, I wrote a column 5 years ago that would have been, and I'm not saying this is the solution, but I'm saying it's not hard to come up with solutions to fix this immigration problem if you really want to, right? If you're really paying attention. You can't tell me that the quote unquote smart elected people we got in Congress can't come up with a fix for the immigration system that we've got. They don't want to. It's better to run on it than to fix it. We as American citizens have to stand up and stop that. And so the protests are good in your communities and here or wherever, but you got to start putting that pressure on these elected officials. That's the only way it's going to change.
All right. Well, that's all I got. I'm trying to keep us around 90 minutes, and we're right around there. Really appreciate everybody being here. No, Michelle, you got to jump off here. We didn't get to all the topics, but you know it's going to happen sometime. We'll be back Tuesday and Friday of next week. To the audience, really appreciate you, and Tamaya, Michelle, Brother Dre, Mac, appreciate your time. Kevin, appreciate your time. And with that, that's all we got, folks. Have a great Friday.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks.